Well, hello everybody. Just as we're getting ourselves finally organised, we will hang on a minute or two for any latecomers. Thank you for getting here in great time. I hope you've got a glass of water to keep yourselves cool today, and we'll just hang on for a minute. I'm not going to offer to sing to you or anything else, but just make yourselves comfortable, and then we will get cracking literally at about a minute past the hour. Well, it's a minute past, and we'll just hang on just for 30 more seconds. I've just seen that Heathrow Airport is recording temperatures in the 40s. Oh, wow. So I think it's rather sad that that's the state of our climate. But there we go. That's another topic for another webinar when we are probably talking about securing a mortgage for a 40-year term. Mortgage and the state of the country and so on in 40 years, but that's for another day. So I think we'll make a start and welcome everybody. It's great to see so many of you register for today's webinar, all about how to grow your law firm. This is a series of webinars that Quill have been running over the course of the last 18 months or 2 years or so, and under that theme, today we're running a webinar, Developing Your Growth Mindset and Securing New Clients. And we're doing this in conjunction with Partner Potential, and I will introduce my two co-presenters in just a moment or two. One thing is a bit different about this particular webinar is it is CPD accredited, so if you're looking to top up your CPD, this is the webinar to be watching. So you will get certification of that following today's webinar. We'll just flick on to the next slide, please. And just a couple of housekeeping points. I'll introduce everybody in a tick, but to say we are recording today's webinar. So please be aware, we're recording it and we'll share the webinar to all of you who have kindly joined us today, but also to all of those who could not make today's webinar. And we will put a link to the recording on Quill's YouTube channel as well for people to watch it later. So if there's anything you don't want to be saying in public, then just be aware of that. Now, I think everybody is pretty much used to webinars these days and how to interact with the panel. But at the bottom of your screen, you should see a little toolbar with a Q&A option. Please pop the questions in there. We will keep an eye on your questions, and I will judge whether to take the questions as we go or at the end. I've got colleagues in the back office, so to speak, who are also keeping an eye on those questions and will alert me if there's anything that I have missed. Okay, so let's just pop on to the next slide, please.
Oh, sorry about that.
Right, perfect. So for those of you who don't know me, my name is Julian Bryan. I'm Executive Chairman here at Quill, predominant shareholder of the business, and run the business through my management team on a day-to-day basis. I've got two fantastic people joining us today who are going to do most of the talking for me. Firstly is Hayley Kane. Hayley is Director of Partner Potential. Great wave there from Hayley, thank you. And she'll talk more about herself once we get into her part. And Joanne Barry. Joanne is not only a Director of Partner Potential, but is also a solicitor in her own right. So we'll chat to Jo in a short while, but in detail. But the beauty of having Jo here is that she's been there and done it. Which is particularly important in terms of growing a law firm. Okay, so just pop on to the next slide, please. So I'm sure many of you, or maybe many of you are already Quill clients. If you're not already Quill clients, then just a word or two about Quill. We are an independently, privately owned software business supplying software and services to the legal sector. We've got over 800 law firms using our practice management, case management and accounts, legal accounts software. Cloud-based software, so you can access it anytime, anywhere. And we support that with a number of services. So we provide a back office, a cashiering service, a payroll bureau, a typing bureau, and a virtual post room. So you do have a complete package of services that complement Quill's software. And we've been at this job for over 40 years, 44 years, to be honest, to be realistic about it. And so we pretty much have a good idea of how to support law firms. Okay, next slide, please. So, Hayley, do you want to tell us a bit about partner potential?
Yes, partner potential. I've been teaching people to do business development that have not done it as a career, and have specialised in professional services. And Jo and I met 8 years ago, and when she was starting up and went through our journey together, and her background as university lecturer, we got together and decided to join forces and wanted to really change people's lives. If you get good at business development and can grow your firm, then it reduces a lot of stress. It's one of the most stressful things that people go through, and we've helped over 1,200 firms and 3,500 people in the last 21 years to change their growth mindset, and also to secure clients and secure the future of the business for everybody. So thank you for that.
That's quite a pedigree from both of you. Thanks, Hayley. Thank you.
Oh, that's great. Thank you. So there's today's agenda there, Julian, for you.
Okay, super. So what we're going to do, we're just going to, I'm going to chat with Jo in terms of how she got to where she got to. Then Hayley's going to take us through the growth mindset, securing new clients, the whole confidence building process, planning, developing the appropriate questions to talk to clients about when you're engaging with clients, understanding what clients need, and then we'll try and wrap that up with a bit of a summary so you've got something to take away, and we will be having a quick Q&A session at the end and a bit of a survey for you, and then next steps. So okay, let's crack on to the next slide. So this is where we talk to Jo a bit about her journey, and Jo is not only done lecturing and everything else, but she's running a successful law firm in North Manchester. So Jo, tell us a bit about how you got to where you are today, sitting in front of this audience for this webinar.
Thank you. You can tell that myself and Hayley were both quite northern, so you've got a mix of accents on here. So yeah, I started my career very early, as everybody tends to do back then, when there was only one route to law, which is to go to do a law degree at university. And then I started a training contract at a big legal 500 firm in the northwest of England, where I was a criminal solicitor for a while. That's how I qualified in, but I wanted to do wills and probate. And that's where my heart was set on being a specialist. You can't set up your own firm or traditional law firm until you're 5 years qualified. So I had a waiting game, and in the meantime, I went to go and do lecturing at university. So as a consequence, I've been lecturing for more than 10 years, 12 years now, and I've had my own law firm for 9. It's a niche law firm that specialises in wills, probate, powers of attorney and residential conveyancing as well. And I think my friends would describe me as a busy businesswoman, busy doing business. I wear so many hats, not least because I do lecturing and everything as well. But just in general life, it's quite chaotic, and I'm often pulled in so many different places. I'm a bit of HR, I'm compliance, I'm a fee earner, I'm a mum. I'm everything in that office, very much. And I have a team with me, but you still get heavily involved with it. So I came across Quill because I didn't have all the necessary departments when I started out my law firm to do different things. So I suddenly was the cashier, the accountant, the coffer, everything. And I'm just trying to get some money through the door because I had no clients. I set up with a laptop on my kitchen table, which is ironic that I'm sat with a laptop on my kitchen table. But that's the way it starts off, and not knowing where my next client is going to come from is very difficult, and not knowing how to wear all the hats that I have to do as a business owner is very, very difficult, because I wasn't trained to do any of that. I wasn't trained in my academic studies to be a lawyer, how to do the account system. I wasn't trained how to do HR. I wasn't trained how to do business development. Very often, when there are some things you can outsource, do it. The best thing I did from the beginning was outsource to Quill. I have a cashier, Jason. I don't know what I'd do without Jason. I don't know if Jason puts up with me, quite frankly. Sometimes I have to speak to me like a 3-year-old. But he's like this for the last 8 years. He's been a member of my staff without me having to, sorry, Julie, without me having to worry about payroll for him, or without me having to worry about his holidays or his pension. And he's always there, and there's always cover. And he's helped me through just figuring out VAT returns, you name it. He's helped me do it. So where possible, you outsource. But today we're doing things that we can't necessarily outsource, where you've got to be bringing clients in and you have not the first clue how to do it, or you have a clue how to do it, but there's ways and means. So I'm predominantly here to give you my experience of it, because I've been there, I've done it, and I've worn the crappy t-shirt and been so confused. So if I can do anything that helps, I will do.
Okay, that's super, Jo, and a very interesting introduction. And I think if anybody gets a chance to chat to Jo afterwards, and I'm sure we'll be sharing email addresses and so on and so forth later, there's a lot more to Jo's story than just that. But we'll share that, or leave that one for later. I think Jo makes a very good point in terms of what you're good at. Jo spent a lot of time training as a solicitor, and that's where her core skills are. So don't try and do everything else. I appreciate there are certain things as a manager of business you need to do. Don't try and do everything else. And Jo's been very sensible in terms of outsourcing various functions to other people that do know how those things work. So that's brilliant, Jo. So let's move on then, and Hayley, do you want to sort of pick up the baton in terms of how we can help develop a growth mindset?
That's great. I wanted to start off with this very strange video here to really set the scene of how best to demonstrate a growth mindset. I'm guessing you've worked out which bird has got a growth mindset. If you're willing to try things, take risks when you don't even know you're at it. The one on the left, who's just put his claw up and is in headlights, is a person with a fixed mindset. And I've often felt like the parrot on the left when I've had to secure new clients. And then I've often felt like the one on the right. So it fluctuates all the time. So I'm really looking forward to sharing how you can get your own growth mindset. And coming up, the parrot on the right finally cracked it, and he's definitely like Jo when I'd been in with her and she taught a team, and that was when she'd secured at least 10 new clients that week when it worked. So let's talk about your own growth mindset, not two parakeets. I think sometimes there's flavour of the months with words that people use, and it's been bandied around a lot. Certainly Carol Dweck started it in academia, of how children could have fixed mindsets versus a growth mindset. So I'm just going to do a quick definition for you, and forgive me if you already know this. But a fixed mindset is you think you have to be born with a skill or a talent, and you are unable to learn anything on top of that. You cannot become good at it because you have not got the DNA for it. It's not in your personality profile, and that no matter what you tried or what you did, you'd never be able to do it. And a lot of people feel like that about securing new clients and business development. By the nature of it, solicitors and firms are very technical, very analytical, very process driven. So it can often feel like a black art when you have to do business development. It can feel very fluffy and very strange. So it feels scary. definition of a growth mindset and how somebody approaches that is that I can do anything. I can become exceptional at securing new clients. I can become and make this easy and learn the skills. I can fall, I can make mistakes, I can keep on trying, I can take risks, and I can constantly feed that back to myself. So that's the definition of a growth mindset. I'm sure everybody who's sat here listening as well is really already thinking, well, I think I do have a growth mindset sometimes. And you can have it in one topic area, but not in another. So we're particularly applying that today to securing new clients. So securing new clients puts the fear of dread into everybody when you start thinking about, I've really got to get perhaps some clients are no longer working with you. There is always a 5% fall off rate of clients, no matter what you do. There is people change positions, lots of reasons why you have to secure them. One is that you might be really ambitious and want to really grow. One is that you want your fee earners underneath you, if you're a partner or a director, to actually secure new clients, that you don't want to be the one feeding everybody. I know that was the stage that Jo went through. In the early days, Julian, I'm sure you did in your business, you are the best salesperson ever. You are the best person to really get those new clients. So it's looking at this in two ways. Do you want your team to do it because we have a mix of fee earners and partners and directors on here? Or do you just want to do it and control that and feed the work out? So it's just having a think about that and how you go about that step. So I just want to give another definition. I always like clarifying things. People great at business development and planning are helping people. That is my definition of selling and business development. You know, selling is a dirty word often in this country, that we think it's pushy or manipulative. We don't like discussing money, don't like discussing price. It feels that you're manipulating people or that you've been on the receiving end of poor salesmanship. So it's really, this is a great definition. You want a win-win in building relationships and reducing risk for everybody. It's got to protect your firm. It's got to protect your fee earners. It's got to protect that client that you're trying to secure and talk to. So it's demystifying some of that. Underpinned underneath that definition of how we look at a soft, intelligent business development process is 4 components of business growth. If you get these right and make it more structured and pin each one of those methods that you use to secure new clients as we go through the seminar, I think you'll really feel much better about it, and it'll feel like it's got some structure and some steps that you can practice and take away from this. We're all very much about being practical. So there's the 4 components of business growth. There's securing new clients and applying it to that, but then there's overlaying it with your business growth mindset that you can do it. Those are the 4 that we're going to work through on this webinar today. We've plucked one tiny element out of it that will give you the most impact. And we want it to be really practical so that you will leave this webinar and the takeaways will be that you will be able to put into practice what we're showing you in each of those sections, spending approximately 5 minutes in each one and giving you some really good things. This is part of a whole big flagship course that we've written, and there's different elements to it, but it's conquering these 4 parts and components. So these are the things that we're going to go through. You will be able to do this at the end of it. You will be able to avoid those mistakes. You will have a set of powerful questions. You will know what your clients need. So I'm looking forward to going through this with you. Okay, so let's crack on with confidence straight away. Confidence is a huge topic. Confidence comes from lots of different angles. So there's a lot of gurus at the moment and business experts talking about confidence and that they're writing books and demystifying it. It's always been a complex subject. For one, it fluctuates, your confidence levels. We're not taught it at school. Unless you read about it, how do you really know about how to get confidence? So I've plucked out just one part of this. This is a 2 half-day workshop normally. So I've pulled out the most important bit. If you can put people at ease, it makes you feel so much more confident when you're securing new clients. It's probably one of the most difficult conversations that you have when you're trying to secure a new relationship or talk to somebody that you've never met before. So I wanted to, getting obsessed with definitions, this is the 3rd one for clarity, is really being clear on what rapport is. Because in order to put somebody at ease, you've got to have rapport and build rapport with them. And we're all capable of doing this. It's just we don't learn it at school. We don't often learn it from our parents. And unless you're watching a boss who's exceptional at it or a colleague. So that's the definition, and it's got to fit all of those elements of it. So it's got to be friendly, it's got to be a relationship. People have to understand each other, not just on face value, but very well, and start to really build that relationship. If I then click on For You and go to, we've all been on the receiving end of this, I'm sure you have, Julian. Just be very aware of your funny handshakes when you're going to networking dues. I only had one of these last week and the hand was clammy and it was just not good on any level. So I just want to give a quick reminder to you all that when you come to building rapport, I'm going to give you some really good tips after this, and handshakes is in one of them, definitely. We've not got to underestimate it. Although interestingly, I'm going to see a Chinese client, trying to secure a new Chinese client next week, and I've been reading up on their culture, and if you give them a firm handshake, it's a big no-no. So I'm being very careful with that. You've got to be very gentle handshake or it's offensive. So know what to say is a really key part of this, and we've done two elements to this confidence bit. One is knowing what to say, and then one is how to build rapport. I want you to just look down that list, everybody, and really think about those 6 reminders or a checklist. Those are the most vital ones that I know make an impact if you can put somebody at ease. And some you'll be already really good at. You'll look at it and say, of course I do that, I know that. And others you'll think, I don't know whether I really do that enough or not. Jo, if you had to pick 1 or 2 out of there, what do you think really helps you put people at ease and feel confident, and them to be confident in you?
The very first 2, knowing what headaches your customers have and 5 ways that you help people, are particularly important. It's not just about confidence in yourself that your service is really good. It's more so that the client has got to have confidence in you and your ability. They've probably rung up a few people. You're not the first choice, so you've got to secure them at the end of the day. With obviously I do probate, and I'm dealing with somebody at a very vulnerable and stressful time. For me, it's knowing what headaches that they've got. So we've got a client who needs probate, and I'm a solicitor who obtains probate. That should be the end of it, and that's what we think as solicitors as well, probably, is that you've got a need, I do that, done. We're good with it. And it's not about that. Okay, my clients need probate because they need to close down investments and distribute money, but that's not what they need. That's not what they want. They want a variety of different things from me, and taking the time to learn what they need, such as they want a secretary, they want admin, they want grief counselling, they want so many different things from me as part and parcel of the service, that obtaining the grant of probate, in the end, that legal document, is kind of secondary to what they actually wanted in a solicitor that's doing that job. So I need to understand that so that they have confidence in me and they pick me for the job and not Joe Blogs and co down the street with it. If you are a conveyancing solicitor, then you should know already that your first-time buyers have a completely different need to your buy-to-let customers, because they want different things from their journey with you. They've got different headaches to each other. Your buy-to-let probably wants a speedy service, but your first-time buyer needs to be spoken to like a 3-year-old, because they don't understand the fundamentals of a mortgage and how that actually works. So if you don't know your client, know what to say, know what their headaches are, you're not going to secure them. If you're a shareholder, I don't do commercial aspects. Hayley and I, when we went into business, I needed a shareholders agreement. Hayley needs a shareholders agreement. Need a shareholders agreement. Find a solicitor who does one. Boom. No, I needed a solicitor actually that knew what my headaches were. What are my worries about it? My main worries are, if something happens to me or Hayley, what's going to happen to the business, my family, and etc. So you've got to realise what headaches your customers have to be able to know how to help them, and that's going to secure your client.
Yeah, I think that's really important. I think as well, if I take the bottom one, for instance, Quill are exceptional at this. You are generous in what you offer, from free content, from free help, but the culture of your business as well, Julian, from what Jo's said about Quill and how they've helped her, and she's got that relationship with her own account manager. It's what you offer free at the beginning, isn't it? And the more you share your content and your generosity, and that applies to everybody in this room, the easier it becomes to secure new clients. You've got to have a balance around it, and it's got to have a return on investment, and it's got to be planned, but you still got to know the minute that you meet that person and you've gone through these issues, that you know what you can offer them free, because that's the fastest and quickest way to build trust. Okay, quickly one here, steps to build rapport. There's about 40 different ways to build rapport. These are just some that we've pulled out of here. But again, it's don't forget to just keep revisiting these with your growth mindset. Can you get better? Don't just have a fixed mindset that I'm okay at this and I manage it and it's okay, so I don't have to revisit that again, or I'll never be able to build rapport. Jo is brilliant at being empathic, create shared experiences with her clients. Mirroring and matching, for example, is a really good one. So if I meet somebody for the first time, and I don't know if you've experienced this, Julian, and Jo has probably, if you speak very quickly naturally and you're talking to somebody, a new potential client, who speaks very slow and in a considered manner, you'll really irritate them. You have to match tone of voice, mannerisms, and speech appropriately, or it makes that person feel uncomfortable. And that is a real, good part of building rapport. Some people do it naturally. You've already been taught to do that, and some of it's courtesy, but I just think it's really good to checklist this down. What do you use, Jo, off there, your favourite method?
With my appearance, I'm very informal in terms of the way I dress, actually. I'm not corporate in the slightest, because my clients are not coming to me for corporate reasons. They're coming to me because they're vulnerable and they need a very humanized process and person in front of them. So I often say to them that I'm a human. I know what they're going through. I've lost my own mum and had to do that. And probate for your own mum's rubbish, even as a probate solicitor. So I'm sharing the experience with them, so they've got every confidence that I know what they're going through and then can deal with that. So we've got an instant connection and rapport, but they also don't want that barrier of a pinstripe solicitor in front of them in a mahogany office. That's not my style for what my clients need as well. So yeah, and one of the biggest things is I ask for an order of service if they have one. So I'll ask for a picture of the deceased, or my staff will, when they're inquiring, will say, my condolences. I can't tell you how many people say to me, I never get told that, I never get asked that, that's so nice. And boom, they've got an instant connection with me that they don't have with the other 5 companies that they rang up and asked about probate.
Brilliant. Thanks for that, Jo. That's a great example. Okay, on to planning, because we've got a lot to cover. This is the second component of business growth and where to focus your time with securing new clients. This is a huge meaty topic and a difficult one to really grasp and get round, but I think it's simplifying this and taking it all down. We cover this in a 2-day, 4 half-day sessions and build it with you so that it's practical. But you are looking at lots of nuances in this, in your business development plan. You're looking at your capacity to sell, who can sell, who's able to do business development, how you monitor that, how you track it, how many clients do you need, what is an average order value, an average fee proposal that you would have for a client. So there was so much to go at when me and Jo were talking about this. For the best practical takeaway for you to have, all of you will be doing some planning. It may be more formalised for others. So we wanted to share with you, everybody does these 5 common mistakes. It'd be interesting for me to ask Jo which one she does, because it fluctuates and you do need to keep tracking and checking this. Use that growth mindset to constantly review and improve yourself and get better and better. If you think you've already achieved something and you don't need to keep looking at it, that is a fixed mindset. So these are the big 5 key ones that we've learned over the last 20, 30 years. Jo's learned over the last 10 years in her own business development planning. And it's really interesting that people often don't think of these. You may call it something else, but I want you to look at it in this and use this as a checklist. We'll be sending you lots of templates out at the end of this for people that opted in, and lots of tools that you can use from our armory. But time management, you are not usually doing business development full time. That's the first thing, and it's juggling lots of plates. It's a really challenging task to do. It's a challenging department to be in when you put that hat on. So the time management element is key. So if you said, I have to secure 2 clients a month, how long is it actually taking you to do that? Because your conversion rate may be 50%. So you need 4 clients to be able to see and send fee proposals to. So really key that you build that time in properly and time block. Jo does that. She's brilliant at it. One other thing I want to just say to you about is the overselling and underselling. We all do that. Too optimistic, charge through it. And then other times we're panicking and we haven't got enough and you'll come across as pushy. So be careful. Jo, have you got a really good example in there of when you...
Yeah, I know that's one of the questions we've already been asked is I'm overconfident sometimes. I end up over promising or overselling. I don't tend to overpromise. I've got a habit because I've developed such a good rapport and relationship with my client that I'll do too much for them. And I then suddenly become entirely unprofitable with that particular job. So I'll end up spending twice as long on a job because I will get on the phone and I will speak to them more with it. So if I don't have a plan in place or a proper process to be able to deal with my client and their journey, which we're going to touch on in the next bit, is that I will end up doing that. I will skew my pipeline so badly that I've spent far too long on 2 jobs that paid exactly the same for jobs that don't. Kind of like when you all sat exams, you've got two marks of two questions that are both worth equal marks, but you spend 2.5 hours on one because you're panicking, and then you've got no time left for another one. So I joked earlier that I'm a busy businesswoman, busy doing business, and I'm wearing so many hats. That it's really hard. If I don't diary block, I'm not doing any business development. So I'll be too busy asking my staff to bill or asking my fee earners to bill or billing myself that I'm trying to do the next month, but I've not thought about the 4 months after that. And then suddenly you get that towards those months and you go, oh my God, I've not got enough in the pipeline for this. I'm not going to get enough fees in for this as well. So it can be a vicious cycle. If you don't diary block or you don't allow your staff to diary block, you've got a real problem. It was weird when I was a fee earner at a big firm because I wasn't asked to do any particular business development. What I did know is that I'd better be doing something to generate and have some sort of plan to make my backside worth it on that seat, otherwise I'd find somebody else. So I wanted to bring to the table, but I had no idea how to do it because they had a marketing department and a business development department and the rest of it. But still, I needed to do something for me to make it worthwhile, even going to my line manager and saying, what can I do to bring in? So it's very, very difficult when you're in a bigger firm where your prices are already set and you have no control over them, but you still need to look at it and look how long it takes you to do a job to make sure your process isn't too long, your pipeline's right, and you're not doing that underselling, overselling. So
I think we both agree as well, don't we? 1 month or two months you may do all of them and you absolutely avoid them all. Another month you'll suddenly have crashed and done 3 of them in the same month. So it's that constant monitoring and tracking and just having that visibility and putting that time aside to actually track it and report it as well, isn't it? Okay.
Yeah.
Great. Moving on to clients. Now, clients, finding the right client is absolutely key. So when we say secure new clients, it's not just any client. We want profitable clients. We want clients that we like, that we can build rapport with, that we have shared values. We want to choose our clients. When we first set off in our endeavours to build our firm and build our business, you often deal with people because you're actually desperate to get that work in, and you've got to really hone it in your plan and really think about the right profile of clients, because the danger is if you get the wrong client at the beginning, they're going to take a lot of your time and a lot of your profit. They're also going to really knock your confidence. The other key thing is they won't follow your process because they might not understand why you're doing things or not be great at listening. They can also refer other horrible people like them to you. So we've all had horrible, really tough clients to work with, and you get better as your business and your firm grows. So one thing we wanted to pull out of it, again, a really big topic on lots of different angles, how you choose the right clients to secure, but we wanted you to have a really good practical takeaway. If you develop just some of these powerful questions that we're going to show you, this will make the job so much easier of actually building that trust with people and rapport. I'm sharing here with you Deeper Questions Grid by John Sawyer. And it's about, your whole aim is to ask insightful questions. If you give people time to think and allow them a silence or a moment to really think about something that's troubling them, or a headache or a problem that they've got, or they're trying to decide how they best solve it, and you give them time and you ask them a great, powerful question, that person is going to immediately want to work with you. It makes securing clients effortless if you get it right, but it takes a lot of practice. It takes a lot of effort to really put your growth mindset in place, because you're going to have to really fail at this. And it's toe-curlingly embarrassing at first, because when you're trying to ask insight generation questions, the only way you can get better at this is trying it out on people. And it does feel very squirmy. So I'm just warning you, it's not for the faint-hearted, but it's a fantastic tool. So if I just talk you through it briefly, when you first meet people, me and Joe disagreed on this. When you first meet people, I think you should stay in the yellow box, in the factual, because it's light-hearted small talk and you're starting to ease that conversation. The next one down is analytical. So this will feel very easy for fee earners in the room, and partners and directors and software, and because we're analytical and process driven, aren't we, and very factual. And those are easy questions to ask, and it ends up being a stilted conversation if you're not careful, because you say, where did you get that, what did you do with that? It isn't really helping you find out if that client is the right client for you. Whereas if you go into the predictive ones, and the insight generation are the most powerful of all. So Jo has a fantastic example of an insight generation question she uses. She's brilliant at this.
Yeah, I mean, I do obviously use the factual questions, because there's certain things I need to know when I'm dealing with the client about their assets and certain things, family members, etc. when I'm dealing with it. But one of the things I actually do ask at the beginning, and it's got to be suited to your client, is relating to what I said about knowing a client and the headaches, is I actually ask them, what would let you walk away from me right now feeling better about that I'm in control of it, or I'm doing this for you. So I will say to them, when you walk away from me today, how are you going to walk out of that door and feel, right, Jo's on it, she's dealing with it, leave it with Jo will sort it. So we have this saying, Jo will sort it. What's going to be that clincher? And they'll tell you honestly. And then, the client expectations, they know, everybody's in the know about what it is. And those insightful questions will help you with that client and be able to deliver properly, stop you overselling as well, or price it right if it transpires that they wanted you to do far more than they initially said that they wanted you to do, because what they actually want is different. So yeah, I'm quite honest with my clients.
I think it's about taking them through those future steps, but instead of you guiding somebody through those future steps and you taking control, and somebody feels some of those stages you may be going too fast, asking those questions allows the client to set the pace and to give you that time to build that trust. And there's nothing more powerful than you can do than let somebody really think about something. A really good test is if you ask a brilliant insight generation question, somebody goes silent and they don't know how to answer it, and they either say, that was a really good question, give me a moment, or they just go, and they will either look upwards and they're going into factual things for themselves, or they'll look downwards and they're really feeling in their gut and their instinct about what they want to do. So I'd like you all now.
Doesn't it, Hayley? Sorry, our questionnaire that we've asked people to do, they are designed to be deliberately insightful.
Yes, they are. They make you really think about it when we ask those questionnaires. For anybody who didn't get a chance to fill it in, we can send the link out again. We've got some fascinating results on there that we'll share with you at the end. But if you think now and just take 30 seconds, don't overthink it. I'd like you to go in each one of those boxes. So I want you to come up with one factual question. I want you to come up with a predictive one, an insight generation one, and an analytical one. So I've got some samples here just quickly, and then I'll come back to this grid for you. So that one at the top, as you can see, what did you find most interesting in the talk? So if you're at a networking event, that's a nice factual, soft, gentle inroad into somebody. If you started asking, how will you increase your growth as the conversation deepens, somebody's going to have real insight generation from answering that to you. They may not want to share it with you, and you can say to people, I'm a professional, this is all confidential. But if you are asking people, how will something impact in the future, that's where you're doing the real, sort of value things. So just take a moment now. I'll give you 20 seconds. and just make one for each one of those and practice it when you leave here. Promise me that you'll do some more work on it, because it will make a huge difference to your conversations. Don't put your claw up like the first parakeet. I want you to sit there and really think about giving it a go, no matter how squirmy or difficult it feels at first. Now, partners and directors in the room that we've got, because there's a real mix in here, you know, are you going to your fee earners and your team and sharing your brilliant questions that you've developed over the years because you took the risk and asked those questions? And that's only the way that you find out about customers. You know, Quill are really good at that. Anybody who's written brilliant software that works for people and is helped along with a human at the side of it has got great insight into what a customer needs and headaches, because they've asked the questions. Julian, I bet you've got some great ones. I won't put you on the spot.
I'm going to say, don't put me on the spot just now, but I have written some down, Hayley.
It's very thought-provoking. Yeah, it's, you know, we forget, don't we, that people love talking about themselves. And if you talk to a prospective new client and you're interested in them, and we've lost the art of conversation, I think, in the younger generation because of texting and social media. You know, you're not taught to ask brilliant questions. You either come across as a forensic detective or somebody very strange, because we're not used to. We're losing some of that art of conversation, aren't we? So I'd like you to spend time when you come out of this webinar, put some time in your diary. If you only do this one takeaway, that will give you the biggest results in securing a new client. Okay, process. Let's have a really good look at this now. Processes are fascinating to me. I'm a bit of a geek and I love process mapping and I love working out time efficiencies, but you add a lot of value to your client when you have an efficient process of business development, not just the process when they come on and they're secured. We're all good at that once they're a fee-paying client. The bit before, you know, how can you structure how they come to you? And there's distinct stages that clients use. It's interesting, in the questionnaire we asked people, how many stages in your business development does it in your process does a client go through? And people have put 2 or 1. There is actually much more stages than that, and you have got to guide that client and be one step ahead through them. So we've extracted one little bit out of this huge topic: uncover what new clients need. And again, it's going along the questioning theme. But if you, again, do what I call a soft intelligence sell, and an interaction with somebody and help them, then this is buyer behaviour. This was my real topic and my real love, and I'm always researching onto this. People use a range of activities as a buyer, and they behave in a certain way using different techniques to work out whether you are the right person for them or not. If you are trying to secure new clients and get across your services, if you don't know what's going on at the other side, that's just a one-way mirror and attract a disaster. You have got to get inside people's heads. They are all thinking this through every step of that process before they sign on the dotted line with you. From the very first second you meet somebody, they're thinking all of these whirling thoughts going around. Are they thinking about you, whether you're the right person? Is the firm right? How do they learn to understand your knowledge to do that? They've got huge risks and worries, and some people are better than others at taking risks and making buying decisions. I don't think Amazon did any of us any good as buyers, because they made it so absolutely brain numbing. We just expect everybody to be the same, don't we? So when you're selling a complex service and a knowledge-based service, you've got to really think about what your buyer's thinking. Jo has some really interesting insights into this about how her buyers go through those stages and how she's guiding them very gently from the first second that they come onto her radar. So before a client even comes to you, they only come to you at stage 2 usually, where they're doing the information gathering and looking for a supplier, looking for somebody who can help them. The problem recognition stage, you can meet people at networking or events and they don't even know they've got a problem. With great questions, you can get them into that buying process stage, and you're doing them, you know, a huge amount of value, because they might have been thinking about this and really worrying about it for quite some time. They then need to evaluate solutions, and people do that in different ways. And then the purchase phase is really key. And then more importantly, there is a post-purchase phase. So we've all heard the term buyer's remorse. So the most brochures for cars, new cars, are picked up by people who have just bought that car. And the showrooms and the marketing people in car dealerships know that. So think about something similar in law firms. What would make your buyer not have remorse? Are you sending them things afterwards to really cement that relationship and make them think that they've made the right decision and that they're satisfied? Jo, what's your really good example of this where you've process?
I hated this bit because, and this was a very difficult learning curve. While I could get to grips with building rapport with clients and stuff from an empathetic point of view and shared experiences and whatnot, this was really, really tough to me. I just wanted to get on with the job. Just let me get on with the job situation. So when I'm starting off and I'm doing like SEO and stuff like that, which people will know about it, those law firm owners in the room will definitely know about this, is that SEO people, when they come into me and trying to sell me their service, they'd say to me, well, what, you know, we can drive more people to inquire for you. What are they looking for? What are they searching for? And I'm like, I don't know what they're searching for because I already know the answer, don't I? So I don't know when people are searching for probate, what are they putting in as a search term? Because I wouldn't put that into Google because I already know the answer, and that's the problem. So that problem recognition is very difficult, but then the information gathering. So have you ever been your own client? Have you ever done any mystery shopping, whether you're the firm owner, you're the fee earner? Have you ever figured out how your client gets to you, or potentially? Because we only did it the other day again, just to do some more training with one of my staff. And we pretended to be on conveyancing, selling a house, buying a house. And we went locally to 4 different firms. Now, 3 of them didn't bother ringing back. So we asked for a quote. 2 of them didn't send a quote or didn't tell us what we wanted to know instantly anyway. And 3 of them didn't ring back. And certainly nobody actually asked a question. Right, we've given you the information that you've asked for and we've given you a quote. What's the next step? And would you like us to make a start? Nobody. So these four companies all had an opportunity to bag me as a client, didn't take it. So they didn't do the right information gathering stage at all, or give me a solution to my problem. So try and be your own client for once, or go back to a client that you have a really good relationship with and ask them what their journey was and their process. A big tip to underselling, overselling as well is we've all had that client who does excessive calls and they take 5 times more time up, like we talked about before, than anticipated. If you don't have the right process for your purchase phase, but most importantly, the post-purchase phase, that's when you're overselling. That's when you're giving too much. So again, when you get to know your client, if you're a conveyancer, you can prepare stuff about the process for a first-time buyer versus a seasoned buyer or somebody who's been through the process before, because they all need different things. So you've got to think about your buyer journey throughout, and every one client is potentially another 10 clients, because if they have a good process and a good journey, not just so you bagged them and secured them, that they had a good process and a good journey with you, then they're going to recommend you to 10 other people quite easily. And if you have a good relationship and you've done a really good job, you should have no problem asking them to either. So yeah, knowing the process and getting that right is absolutely critical.
Oh, fantastic. Thanks, Jo. I think if we just recap now really briefly, we wanted you to understand what a growth mindset was, and you should all be in a position now to know how you'd apply that growth mindset to these different elements and components of securing new clients. I think it's keeping track of your growth mindset and using it. If you don't use it, it's never going to grow and it's not going to be a growth mindset. You can't just read about it or think about it. Securing new clients and applying it to that, making that much more structured, takes all the mystery out of business development, I think, and it makes you feel confident. Putting people at ease is one of the easiest things you can do to secure new clients. The other thing is knowledge of what is really making your client tick. Try and read up or listen to TED Talks or podcasts or content, you know, great content like Julian puts at Quill, and, you know, webinars and things that we do. Really search around. There's tons of free information out of there. And then if you want to evolve that more, you know, commit time to it. These things really work and really help. You've got to have 5 ways. I hope you leave from here, if you haven't got 5 ways, really pin down that all of your firm or all of your colleagues are using. You really need to just compare those, and you'll pick up some great stuff and share best practice. Your questions will really secure new clients. One great question can totally help you really want somebody to come and work with you and be with you and be on that journey with you. And then avoiding those mistakes. Promise me you'll keep that checklist on your desk on a Friday, and 5 minutes on a Friday, put it in your diary to check whether you've made those mistakes in your business planning. So I hope there's lots of practical takeaways that you can do. We'll also talk a bit about the support and what we're going to send to you at the end of this webinar for you to use as well. So thanks for that. And thanks, Julian, for letting us talk about this. I'm going to move now to questions and poll results. So I was going to do this in 2 sections. We did a survey and got people to answer an anonymous questionnaire that took between 5 and 10 minutes with some real key things that related to this. And we found some brilliant findings in that, and I'd like to share those with you. But first of all, I'd like to answer some questions that were put in this session. So
shall I just pick up there,
yeah,
Hayley, just to run this bit? That's brilliant. I think that's really insightful. I think what strikes me, we've had a whistle stop tour over the course of the last 45 minutes or so. I think I need to go on the full course, and I'd encourage any of our participants to do the same. I'm also thinking in terms of how software can help with all of this, and I was thinking about Quill's new organizer module, which we're about to launch in the next couple of months, and how I think I'll be putting my tasks in for a Friday of what to do as recurring tasks, so that I know what jobs I got to do every week. And the other thing that sort of strikes me is and I don't know, Joe, whether you would ever do this, is using capturing time. How much time, non-chargeable time, do I spend actually doing this business development work, and capturing that time and almost looking back at the end of the month and seeing how much time I used on business development. Just little ways that you can use software around you in your business development world. So let's go back.
Don't we, Hayley?
Sorry.
We have a word for that, Julian. We say 10p tasks, £10 tasks, £1,000 tasks.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
So you've got to check
yourself. That's one way of looking at it. So somebody asked us sort of early on in here, confidence. Confidence can work both ways. I consider myself to be a fairly not reclusive, but I don't have confidence, if I'm being brutally honest. How do you deal with the over optimist? This is a question that's being asked by somebody here. Well, I'll read it out to you. How do I deal with the fear of being over optimistic, trying to achieve something that simply isn't possible? How do I know what's possible? We all hear that the salesman coming on the phone that's basically full of BST.
Yeah.
So they can move the world, but can't. How do you deal with that over optimistic person, Hayley, or Joe?
I've often get into disputes, especially with residential conveyancing, is that I'll be up against clients who've gone and got quotes elsewhere, etc., and they come back and they go, yeah, they said that they can have me completed in 4 weeks, and you're like, yeah, I'm sure they said that, and it's definitely not going to be. So I come into competition with over optimistic people who definitely oversell. And when we said about asking insightful questions, if you ask the right questions, what your client actually wants, that will stop you overselling something straight away. They might not want what you're about to oversell or be overconfident with as well. But if your literature afterwards in the process keeps them on track, you can't do that. So I'll never say I'll get probate back in 2 weeks if I know full well that the court time scale is not that. So you should be open and honest.
I think this question is a really interesting one because it demonstrates a growth mindset question too, Julian and Joe. Because if I break it down, the issue of confidence, how do I deal with the fear of being over optimistic? If you have a growth mindset and take risks and take the criticism and take the failures and know that you can keep building, and the only way you're going to do it is practicing it, then you can't possibly be over optimistic. because if you keep trying and reflecting, you're going to know in that one situation you were over optimistic, and you will be able to gauge yourself. You've got to get a feel of that. The only way you can do it is by, you know, Julian, when you set your business development activities, when you very first started out and securing new clients, it is real, you know, just really thinking about what you're capable of doing in the time. But you have days where you are hugely optimistic and feel on top of the world and really confident. And then other days you don't. You feel terrible and you just don't want to go out, and you have this huge block and something's knocked your confidence. So confidence is a complex issue. I think that question demonstrates it, because there's 3 elements. One, how do I deal with the fear of being over optimistic? I'd say, please put your growth mindset on, Faisal, and go and just be brave. No such thing as over optimistic. I'd rather be hung out to dry for being enthusiastic and wonderful with people and think I can conquer the world, and come back and think, right, I need to tone that down a bit. And like Joe said, be careful not to oversell. But then trying to achieve something that you think is simply not possible, that is the second bit. Everything's possible. I'll give you a really good example. My lovely ex-husband said to me, not everything is possible, Hayley. And I said, my dad said you could be anything you wanted to be, and you could go. And he went, well, you can't go to the moon. Well, Elon Musk is in the moon and up and out there, and they're out in space, aren't they? So everything is possible. So there is one thing, I know you can't get too giddy, and you've got to balance that, but we're sensible people, aren't we? If we start from a point of confidence, of just some of those things that will work for you that we've said, putting people at ease takes the pressure off you. Look outwards. If you look outwards and only care about that person, you stop thinking about yourself. So it takes some of the fear out.
Yeah.
Hayley, I'm gonna stop you there, Hayley.
Yes,
We're going to get a couple more questions and time's ticking by.
Yes,
so mistakes. So, you know, often, I know a friend of mine, their school motto is mistakes are marvelous. Mistakes, you know, there's nothing wrong with mistakes. Does this concept, the concept of making mistakes and mistakes are marvelous, apply to the growth mindset?
absolutely.
Oh, God, yeah. I still even now sometimes feel like imposter syndrome. Absolutely. You think to yourself, you know, what am I doing? I've grown organically as well, because I was always living in fear of making such massive mistakes, of spending an absolute ton on marketing or this and getting it wrong. But you absolutely do make mistakes, right? And that's how you learn how to do it at the end of the day. Don't hold yourself back for fear that you would make that mistake, because you might find out that you've made one error, but you would have learned 5 different things from it. So yeah, absolutely. We aim to stop the pitfalls, but you will still make your own mistakes.
Yeah.
Okay, brilliant. Well, I'm going to do one more question that I've got, and then we'll have to move on. So the question that's been put to me is, how long does it take to truly develop a growth mindset? I've got my own view on the answer, but I'd be interested to hear your two.
Still doing it. I'm still doing it. Yeah. Honestly.
It never finishes, does it?
No. And then you want to grow in one way and scale in one way, and then you're like, no, I want to go that way and stuff like that. I've tried to be bigger than, and successfully got bigger as a firm previously, and then thought I want to scale that back because I want to go niche and I want to do that and I want to do this. So you've got to have a word with yourself sometimes about what.
Well, Julian, it's a good job we've just got 2 minutes, because it's really easy to get a growth mindset. It takes a split second. Is that your reply? Because you make a choice to have a growth mindset and start exploring it.
I think keeping it is a challenge, which is what
keeping it is the challenge.
Right, let's move on. Okay. Poll results, Hayley.
Yes, let me see if I can do this with you really quickly. A new share, and just hold on one moment.
What the results that we're getting from the poll are just from what people have said today, but they're indicative of everything that we're seeing when we're teaching people along this course. Is that we expected to get these results are absolutely bob on with it.
Can you see that screen? Is that okay?
Yes.
Got it.
So in here we had 16 responses, and it was all confidential. 2.69 was the average rating of how confident they felt So from 5 stars, really confident. Do you have techniques that help control your negative thinking, which is a big part of your growth mindset? And 75%, 12 people said sometimes, but not in all situations. This was interesting about the rapport building, asking questions, eye contact, and active listening were the top techniques that people use the most, ticked on and most thing. Interestingly, filling silences was not one of them. Me and Joe would never have a problem with that, would we? Julian would have to drag us off with a shepherd's hook.
These two questions.
This was really interesting. How many business development stages? So this was the buyer behaviour stages, and most people, 56%, 9 people said 2 stages. So there was actually 5 stages that we did. Do you know how successful business development plan contributes to your profit? No, we don't use plans. So that was 25%. No, I don't know how a plan contributes to profit. So this could be from fee earners, because we've got a really mixed audience in here. This was an interesting one, all the different activities that could apply that would impact profitability on your plan. So it was add value to clients, use systems and software. So that was a great one for you, Julian. People know that impacts profitability when you leverage using something like Quill. Don't accept fee earning work with a client. So not many of us wanted to turn people away, but that makes you profitable.
I think we'll have to send the rest of the results out, won't we?
Yeah. And if you're not going to achieve your monthly target, what do? Most people said check the WIP, which Quill is also great for all that reporting. Talk to marketing and ask for help. So there was some great insights into here. If you wanted to improve your process, what actions would you take? A lot of it was about being with the peers and feedback, and different feedback from clients was reassuring. Also design and map your own process. You know, that's great when you go through, you know, Julian, when you're doing your software, you've already mapped out a process for people, haven't you? So I'd really like to share those.
I think we should do, Hayley. I think if we can, we probably ought to. There's quite a lot there.
Yeah.
There's an opportunity for those of you that have not. If you just go back to share the slides again, that'd be fantastic. If you haven't filled in that poll questionnaire, we can send you another link. We'll send everybody a link to that again, and we can share those results out from here. Well, I think this webinar has been a fantastic insight into developing a growth mindset, and there's a lot more we could spend, you know, I'm sure many days on this topic. And I look at this also from the other side as a buyer. And if you're looking to buy something, and it could even be new software. Quill has developed a buyer's guide, so that looks at it from the other side in terms of what you should be looking for from someone trying to offer their services to you. So do take a look at that buyer's guide on our website. So if you do want to talk in more detail to Joe or Hayley about the services they offer and how to develop your growth mindset, then contact details are on the screen in front of you. Email info@partnerpotential.co.uk, the website partnerpotential.co.uk, or if you've thought about how Quill can help you in conjunction with Partner Potential, then just drop us an email on sales@quill.co.uk, or just give us a buzz, or go to our website. Any of those options. So I think from here, big thank you to Hayley and Joe. Hayley, you put over the points in a very short space of time incredibly well and incredibly insightfully. Joe, it was great to have your practical input into the webinars as well. And I think this has been a great successful hour on a pretty hot and sticky day. For those of you that are participated and even didn't participate, we will send you out a copy of the slides, a copy of a link to the actual recording of the webinar. And if you didn't fill in a poll, we would love to get your information. It's all completely anonymous, completely without revealing anybody's name, and you may well get some help to develop your business. At that point, folks, thank you very much for coming.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thanks,
you.
Hayley. Thanks,
Thank
Joe.
you.
Bye.